What's up guys, welcome back. So even though news has been slow from Nintendo with no Nintendo Direct as of this recording well into February, and still no reveal or announcement of the reveal of the PlayStation 5, the news has been on the dry side until we finally get plans for 2020 announced and revealed for those companies. However, as you may know if you follow me and subscribe to this channel, that doesn't necessarily mean I have to wait for Nintendo or anyone else to cover a topic I find interesting. So with this video, I found some more cool information on Metroid Prime 4, its graphics direction, and an update on the environments and types of terrain Retro Studios will be developing for the game. And I think this is really exciting news because there was actually some concern on what type of art direction Metroid Prime 4 will be going. And while this information doesn't necessarily confirm or deny a particular art style, it does seem to indicate that Retro Studios is in fact going for a very realistic world in terms of its graphics designing tools they are continuing to update and require for who they are hiring to work on Metroid Prime 4. However, one interesting thing to point out is that Breath of the Wild was basically the most realistic looking Zelda game ever made, but still use a mixture of cel shading on the character models and some effects. So due to that fact, it is actually possible that Retro Studios could actually go that route with Metroid Prime 4. Again, I'm not saying that they will, but just that it's possible due to that technique of cel shading being used to good effect on other Nintendo games in the past. So in regards to that, what I did was put out a poll on Twitter, since I'm curious what you guys want as fans of Metroid Prime. I asked, what artistic choice do you want Retro Studios to use for Metroid Prime 4? So far, realistic and realism/cel shaded mix are close, but the poll still has over a day to go, so I'll leave a link to this in the description so you guys can vote. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter as well for things like this, and of course any breaking news that does happen will get posted there first before I can make a video on it. So Retro Studios has been hiring top talent in the industry since early 2019 to help work on Metroid Prime 4, and we covered some of that talent in my last Prime 4 video last month in January when they hired a former Crysis and Killzone developer onto the team. So now Retro Studios is hiring an environment terrain artist to work on very specific types of things for Metroid Prime 4. And this is really exciting because from the description of requirements you can almost see or imagine in your mind how this game is going to look just from what they are saying they will be creating and by understanding the tools they are requiring to use in creation of this game. And I'll leave a link to this in the description of course, but let's take a look at the requirements because it's very detailed and very telling. So here are the requirements for the environment terrain artist from Retro Studios for Metroid Prime 4, since we know this is the game they are currently in heavy development for. It says, creates the in-game visuals for landscapes and various organic props for environments. Sculpting, modeling, and texturing terrain for environments, creates organic assets using Substance, ZBrush, and Maya, conveys visual storytelling through layout, ensures artistic style is consistent with defined visual style for the game, takes ownership of environmental assets and scene layout, while encouraging collaboration across multiple disciplines to achieve high quality, innovative environment art, collaborates with the other environment artists as well as members of other disciplines, competency in terrain composition and layout, strengths in creating rocks, cliffs, trees, and foliage, strong sense of realistic proportions, familiarity with current modeling and texture workflows, strong visual and spatial storytelling skills, knowledge of PBR pipelines, which is physically based rendering, experience with world editors and level construction software, experience with World Machine or similar, ZBrush, Maya, and Substance Suite. Houdini experience a big plus but not a necessity. And here's a quick look at World Machine and then we'll discuss why it's important to use.
Hi guys, thank you for watching this video. In this tutorial I will show you my personal workflow that helps me in creation of a nice looking terrains, landscapes and mountains in a fairly short amount of time. This video will not going to be a step-by-step tutorial on how to work with World Machine and Substance Painter, but I will share with you World Machine template file that will help you to build a variety of nice looking terrains, and will explain how to use World Machine masks to get nice looking textures in Substance Painter.
So World Machine and the use of the Substance suite of programs, which would be Substance Designer and Substance Painter, which we covered in a video late last year, is not only going to help Retro Studios make world environments faster, since World Machine is a program that has templates to help create landscapes way faster than creating them from scratch, but also using this program in combination with Substance and PBR techniques, yet again heavily emphasizes realism or objects in a real breathing world. Also, for this position, they are going to be working heavily on the creation of rocks, cliffs, trees, foliage for a world with a strong sense of realistic proportions. So you can imagine now how far they are attempting to take Metroid Prime 4 in terms of its graphics realism. If they are combining all these things with physically based rendering, Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a living, breathing world that will no doubt be extremely heavy on real world interaction with objects and likely physics as well. And usually in a Metroid Prime game, water, fire, and ice play a big part in how level interaction works. So with these extremely high quality tools being used for world environment creation, there are a lot of gameplay additions that can actually have a great effect just from using things like PBR in combination with those other programs. Physically based rendering can allow certain objects to freeze or melt much more realistically, which Retro Studios could use as a gameplay technique for one of Samus's mini beam weapon upgrades, for example. Not to mention, water can be used to make objects slide with realistic mud from being in these new environments created with PBR in Substance Designer and Painter. And really the whole point of all these things are the endless possibilities once you open up the game development with these advanced tools being used by Retro Studios. For everything they've been hiring on Metroid Prime 4, the more and more it appears that they're going for the most realistic world creation possible. But yet again, as far as character models are concerned, that's one thing that we can't be sure of just yet. Also, the creatures and monsters and bosses you're going to be facing in Metroid Prime 4, we simply don't know what art direction those will take. But if these tools and effects they're using to create these environments is anything to go by, they might be making the creatures the most realistic as possible as well. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But from what it looks like, I think the word that can be best used to describe Metroid Prime 4 thus far is huge potential. Since you have the before mentioned amazing talent being hired to assist in making this big game, you have these cutting edge tools being used by Retro Studios to create it. And again, for this game, we know for a fact it's not coming in 2020. So the direction this game does appear to be heading is for hardware that is technically more advanced than the current Switch, since from what these job descriptions describe, there isn't any game like that on the current hardware that will be able to use these types of tools and effects to the degree that they are requiring, just according to what they are describing here. So since there is no example to compare it to, it's logical to think that this game is targeting more powerful future hardware from Nintendo first, and then whatever they decide to do on how they launch the game when it's done will be decided later. Since currently it appears Retro Studios has no limits on what they are designing for the game. Basically what I'm saying is that how they are developing this game doesn't indicate that they have any hardware limitations, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if they were targeting a future iteration of the Switch first with their team, and any downgrading of the game, etc. may actually be done by another in-house team to convert the game to the current Switch when it's finally released in late 2021 or 2022. But since those time periods are still basically 2 years from now, there is no way we can know for sure at this point. Only that the development of Metroid Prime 4 appears to be going very well, and the team at Retro Studios isn't pulling any punches. It looks like they're using the best possible software and hardware in development for Metroid Prime 4 to make it the most realistic and most amazing Metroid Prime game ever created, and one worthy of the fans' admiration and huge anticipation. So with all these things in mind, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section. Also, don't forget to vote in my Twitter poll about which art style Retro Studios will choose for Metroid Prime 4. And from this so far, we seem to have a good idea for the world environments, which they seem to be pushing for hyper-realism. But then the question is, what about the character models? Could they be using a more artsy, cel-shaded look? Or are they going to be going for big realism also for them as well? So let me know what you think about that. Alright guys, that'll do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.